I was at a widespread panic concert and had consumed a large amount of LSD. The cops came, arrested me. I get put on cell block in Fulton County Jail as a 22-year-old kid. And during this period of time, I start going into withdrawals.
Growing up, no one would have guessed that Joe Downs would ever end up in jail.
I was raised by a very Christian mother, raised going to a Baptist church pretty much anytime the doors were open. My father was not a Christian. He wasn't adversarial against Christians. He might go on Easter and he might go on, Christmas.
Although he was saved at a young age, Joe started walking away from God in junior high.
I started drinking. I started smoking, started experimenting with drugs. I got into the bad areas of my life mostly because of the crowd I was running with. All the other guys around were doing it, so I did. Throughout high school, everything intensified. All the drinking, all the smoking, all the drug use, all the experimentation just got worse.
He was good at hiding his drug use and still graduated high school with honors. In the fall, Joe left for the freedom of college.
And that's where my drug use really took off. My freshman year in college, the campus searched my room and found all kinds of marijuana, all kinds of scales, all kinds of pipes and bongs. I was given a slap on the wrist and put on social probation, and that was it. That following summer, I got caught living in the girls' dorm. They didn't want to kick me out, but they kicked me off campus, which allowed me to get an apartment. That was exactly what I wanted, because then I could operate with impunity.
From marijuana to acid to prescription pills, Joe used and sold it all. Then, his lifestyle caught up to him.
It was December 29th of 1998. I was at a widespread panic concert in Atlanta. I'd spent all afternoon in the parking lot selling ecstasy. I had a large sum of cash on me, had a lot of drugs on me, and had consumed a large amount of LSD. I remember walking into the show. I don't remember leaving the show. The next thing I remember is I'm handcuffed to a gurney at Grady Memorial Hospital in downtown Atlanta with EKG leads all over my chest. Turns out I tried to steal a cab. The cops came, arrested me. I had a knife on me, had a switchblade on me that I was wielding at the time. I resisted arrest. According to the cops, they very well could have shot me and killed me with just cause. After getting released from Grady Memorial, they sent me to the Fulton County Jail. I get put on cell block in Fulton County Jail as a 22-year-old kid. And during this period of time, I start going into withdrawals. I was charged with possession of controlled substance with intent to distribute, possession of marijuana, possession of paraphernalia, assault with a deadly weapon, criminal trespass, and destruction of property. Called my dad, and he proceeded to get a bunch of money together and come over to bail me out. He looks at me and says, "This is your one and only shot. If I were to get arrested again, I'd be on my own."
Joe entered a rehab program, and although it wasn't biblically based, something clicked from his childhood days in church.
Coming to realize, hey, these 12 steps aren't really foreign principles to me. But what really accelerated that was when a good friend of mine, consistently invited me back to his church.
The church met in a converted bar of all places. It was there that Joe was challenged to read the whole Bible.
And I did it over the course of a year. And then I did it over the next year. And then I did it over the next year. And it was just one baby step after another led to one thing after another after another. And once I started putting in the work, I started realizing that it wasn't God who moved away. It was me that had moved away from God. My case finally came up in May of 2000, which is 17 months after I was arrested. And the reason why it took so long for it to get called is because all of the drug evidence that they had on me disappeared. They had the evidence slip where it was checked into the evidence locker, but all the drugs, all the paraphernalia, and all the cash walked out of the evidence locker, and they could not indict me because they could not produce evidence. I'll sit here and tell you I was guilty as sin, but God chose for me not to have to face punishment for that. If I'd been convicted of all the charges, I think I would have faced 15 or 20 years. I was able to plead as a first-time offender to an assault charge and make restitution to the cab company. And as soon as I made restitution, my sentence was suspended. And since I pled guilty as a first-time offender in Georgia, my record was expunged as soon as the sentence was suspended. You can never do something so bad that God won't take you back. Doesn't matter how low you've sunk, doesn't matter what you consider the depths of your depravity, doesn't matter how bad you think you've been, your loving Father's waiting to wrap his arms around you. Looking back on my life, there's no doubt that God was there the entire time. There's so many things that I did or was part of that should have either incarcerated me for a good part of my life or should have killed me. And I'm still sitting here is all the proof I ever need to know that God was there. I feel like I was welcomed back in by the loving Father God. He was there and wrapped his arms around me.